Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSports. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen. Andy's being lazy and taking the day off. As always, we bring in Matt to help us on a Friday, and we'll weave in a third man. It's Producer Dan week. Is this like your fourth show of the week?
Yeah, you filled in for me on Tuesday, and I know you've been here other than that as well. I thought this was your third.
Or was it my third?
I've lost control of the week. I wasn't even really sure it was Friday.
Oh, I know. I definitely knew it was Friday. I have a busy
It's technically Friday.
Yeah, it's technically. Well, I mean, it's Friday. I have a busy weekend, so I'm going to the Yankees Twins game tomorrow. So,
one of the few times I'm rooting for the Yankees.
I'm going because one of my college buddies is going to be there, and whatever. I don't really care about the game. I just want to go hang out with one of my college friends. So, going to take a trip.
Have you seen Yankee Stadium yet? The new one's pretty cool.
I've been a few times. When the Braves go up to the city, I will go. And then I've been a few other times just randomly. I prefer Citi Field. Yankee Stadium is just a giant museum. Also a terrible place to watch a soccer game. If there's it's usually just MLS.
What is a baseball stadium, Dan?
It is. And it's a terrible, and the field dimensions are awful for soccer. So don't ever go do that.
Don't hate on the Pinstripe Bowl, Dan. Don't you dare hate on the Pinstripe Bowl.
Supporters of the Pinstripe Bowl here, so we will watch that. But yeah, like Citi Field actually has some character and pretty good food options. You just have to go watch the Mets, which is pretty terrible. But hey, nobody's perfect.
Nobody is perfect. And speaking of that being perfect, what's going on here, Matt? Did your Blackhawks win a game or get a point they didn't need to get?
They went to overtime. It probably wasn't the best idea, but they're still locked to finish in that bottom three, which it's not like the NBA. It's not the equivalent to the NBA where every team in the bottom three has the same odds. But if you look at the teams that have won the lottery the last 10, 15 years, it's rarely actually the team that has the best chances. It's usually a combination of a team that has decent odds and the NHL wants them to have a player. So if the NHL wants the Hawks to have Connor Bedard, they'll get Connor Bedard. If they don't, they won't. So that's kind of it. But no, I was at the game last night. It was Jonathan Toews' last as a Blackhawk, probably last in the league as well. It was fun, but yeah, definitely got a point that they didn't need to. He did score though, so I cashed out on that bet. Unfortunately, I had him first goal, last goal, and anytime. The Hawks were down 4-3, and he had scored the goal to make it 4-3 with midway through the third. And I was really getting my hopes up, and then the Hawks had to tie it and go to overtime, and it sucked.
Did they get it on a man advantage? Did they pull the goalie and tie it, or did they just tie it?
They just tied it.
Oh, okay. That makes it a little easier just because, that's just the worst, just sitting there.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. They did. I was thinking of Toews' goal. No, they did get it.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst. Yeah. You're just oh, God. Just so
it was really weird, too, because then I was watching overtime, and Toews had a breakaway, and, that would have been cool if he scored storybook ending. But part of me was like, all right, come on, Flyers. Let's put one in here. Come on. We don't need to win this game. We don't. We got our Toews got a huge eruption at the beginning of the game, scored his goal. We don't need a win. He's going to get a big round of applause, win or lose after the game anyway. It was pretty cool. The entire Flyers team stayed out on the ice afterwards while Toews kind of took a little bit of a victory lap, gave a speech. They played a little video tribute. So it was a classy move from Noops' Flyers.
We try our best. It is a great
all class in Philly.
We've got two hockey games left. I don't think we're starting there, but maybe we'll get to that in a little bit.
Well,
the most important thing happening tonight, the play-in continues. It finally wraps up.
Balls.
We're ready. Postseason basketball is really here, and it's been great. I've enjoyed the game so far. They've all been pretty entertaining. Two games tonight. We'll talk about the Bulls game in just a second, but our Oklahoma City Thunder, 5.5-point underdogs against Minnesota. The total 228.5. Everything looked just about right there. I do like the spot for Minnesota. It should be a great matchup for them. What Oklahoma City does defensively isn't going to bother them too much. Looks like Gobert is going to play. He should have as many rebounds as he wants. Karl-Anthony Towns should be able to kind of do whatever he wants. Edwards should be getting basically to the lane over and over again. So I had the number pretty close to where it is. I'm happy to put that one aside. And again, if you've got the Oklahoma City Thunder to make the playoffs in your pocket, great. I think you just let that ride. Hopefully you have our parlay from the beginning of the year with the Timberwolves to make the playoffs with everybody else. So you either cash your playoff parlay or we get Oklahoma City there. That worked out very nicely. But Matt, I don't know if you cheated and looked at the sheet. I like your Bulls tonight. I think this is a great spot for Chicago. in a game that should be really close. And not just basing that off how bad the Heat were, the other night, but they really have not been great for the last few months. They rarely, if ever, win games by margin. Your Bulls play a really nice style of basketball for the playoffs. Again, don't really rely on the variance of that three-point shot, which over a long regular season hampers you a little bit. But when you get down to the end of these games, to have guys like DeRozan, they have guys like Levine that can just kind of go one-on-one, break somebody down, and get a decent opportunity. I think we saw the power of that the other night. As the Toronto struggled to score offensively, didn't really have anybody who could create anything. The Bulls were just kind of chugging along, slowly catching up. And I think that's kind of what this game's going to look like. I expect Miami to come out, really hot in this game, if you will. It would be really embarrassing for them to lose this game and miss the playoffs. We would love that, of course. We've been on the Heat to miss the playoffs here, and I kind of double it down on this. I had this closer to 3.5, 4, so 5, 5.5, anything in the Bulls tonight. I think they can keep this game really close. And then just one bet so far in the first round games. I'll post anything else as always in the link on my Twitter. But again, I've talked about this a couple times already, and we'll finally put it up here. I officially did bet it. Kings team total over 119.5. It looks like Andrew Wiggins will be back for the first game, so I was hoping we'd get him game 2. Maybe tilts things a little more towards the Warriors' favorite, but either way, he's going to be really slow in his first game back. It's always hard to integrate pieces like that, and I just don't see the Warriors' defense suddenly becoming incredible. We'll see. Maybe I'm dead wrong about this, and the Warriors sweep the Kings, and I look like an idiot. That would be fine. I don't have to talk about it till Monday anyway. But Kings over 119.5 here. Again, I had them closer to 122, 123 here. I think that this is a classic spot where the Warriors come out, play Wiggins a little bit, and if the Kings get out to a big lead, the Warriors just might let this one go. So give me the Kings team total here. And that's what I've got. Last play-in games and the first round.
I have a question for the two of you here.
Sure.
So DeMar DeRozan said that his daughter isn't going to attend the game tonight in Miami because she has to go to school. My question is, first and foremost, it's Friday. So, there's no school tomorrow or Sunday.
No one does anything on Friday in school anyways when it's this nice out. Come on,
regardless,
we're watching a movie.
What is she doing after noon at school that you can't just have her go for a half day, get a car to the airport and get her on a plane to Miami in time for tip off? I'm just saying, I appreciate that he wants to be a good dad and have his daughter get her education, but feels like a flimsy excuse for him just not wanting his daughter in Miami. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Did they outlaw Zoom, by the way? Can she not just Zoom the whole day of class? Can we not just set up something on her desk and she can just sit and stare at the pad? But you make a great point, Dan. It's not if you get an afternoon flight in Chicago at you should be able to be in Miami by tip-off time. If you get on a plane, I would think at noon, 1 o'clock.
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. You're there. Plenty of time.
I understand if this is a Wednesday.
You even have a private plane that you can access.
Exactly. United Airlines already said the flight would be free. Not that DeMar DeRozan needs a free flight, but
way to go, United. That was smart.
Classy move.
That was smart. That was great branding on their part. Yeah. Just great promotion for them. And I'd understand if it's a Wednesday and you don't want her to miss 2 days of school, but it's a Friday.
Come on.
Whatever, man. I want to talk some.
She's not like she's in high school, and has it's grade school.
Even if she was, let's talk about it from a basketball perspective. Those guys in the Raptors were talking about her like they could freaking hear what she was doing.
Yeah.
You need that. You need to get her in there. Now, it could be a protective move. Maybe he knows the Miami fans might go after her.
Yeah, we got security. I need a DR DeRozan, Jimmy Butler stare down at some point. I need her to be there tonight and those two to get into it. And her to win, obviously.
Oh. Jimmy Butler just hits a big shot and goes over to the sideline and just starts shit talking like a 7-year-old.
Oh, that wouldn't shock me.
I don't know how old.
It's Jimmy. It's Jimmy.
I just have that on repeat at my house 24 hours a day. I need a minute. You guys talk about something. I just want
to. Yeah, it's good stuff.
While Noops is daydreaming about Jimmy Butler shit talking a 7-year-old, we're going to talk some baseball. So I told Matt this off air. Matt read my mind this morning because I meant to tell Matt to come up with a bet for the Tampa Bay Rays today. So that way we could talk about them on the show. And I forgot to tell him that. And he still did anyway. We'll get to that for a second. Real quick to set the stage for those of you uninitiated. The Tampa Bay Rays tied the major league record yesterday for the best start to a major league season. They moved to 13-0 yesterday. That ties the 1982 Atlanta Braves and 1987 Milwaukee Brewers for the best start in Major League Baseball history. Maybe a little bit of ominous maybe it's a little bit ominous for the Rays' future perspectives. That Braves team lost in the NLCS, got swept, and that Brewers team missed the playoffs altogether. So who knows? I will have a story that I might want to tell after Matt gets to his bets for the Rays about that 1982 Braves team. That's one of my favorite stories of all time. But Matt, the Rays, they're taking on the Blue Jays. They're headed north of the border, right? This is in Toronto.
Yes, believe so.
But you're banking on them just continuing to be the wagon that they've been through the first 13 games.
Yeah, this is kind of a don't think, just shoot kind of pick for me. Couple of them. You look at the pitching matchup. It's Drew Rasmussen, who's been lights out through 2 starts. He hasn't allowed an earned run. He's got a whip of .23 over 13 innings. Struck out 15. Hasn't walked anybody. Going up against Jose Barrios, who's used to be an ace, and he has not been anywhere near as good since coming to Toronto. Really, the end of his Minnesota tenure coming to Toronto. Been terrible to start the year. He's 0-2. He's got an ERA over 11 across 9 2/3 innings pitched. Whip up close to 2. The Rays are obviously playing really good baseball right now, and they've been playing games that aren't particularly that close. I know that this has to end at some point, but if you look at the pitching matchup, I'm absolutely going to take that money line at -126, not giving up too much juice there, and the -1.5 at +138. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's okay. I can live with losing on this one. With how well they're playing and how big of an advantage they have on the mound tonight, give me the Rays, money line and run line.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So that Braves team in 1982, at one point, they went through a stretch where they lost 15 of 16. And that Brewers team, after starting 13-0, had a 12-game losing streak in May. But the funny thing about that Braves, so I just love this story, and I've been wanting to tell the story for a long time. So the Braves, they lose 15 of 16 games in August of 1982. But they turned their season around because their starting pitcher one night got lost driving to the stadium and missed his start. The Braves acquired a pitcher named Pascual Perez, who had just come to Atlanta and was scheduled
before Google Maps too. Yep. Easy to get lost.
Exactly.
Before MapQuest even.
Right. This was before the internet. So he was supposed to start for the Braves, and he was told to get on I-85 from his apartment to drive to Atlanta, to Fulton County Stadium. Instead, he got on I-285. And if you know anything about interstate systems, if there's 3 numbers, it's a loop. I-285 is the unofficial city of Atlanta. So Pascual Perez looped around the city of Atlanta 2.5 times, drove 70 miles in the no, it's even more than
no direction.
Miles.
At some point, you got to realize what's going on.
Looping around, realized he was running out of gas, goes to a gas station. Thankfully, the gas station attendant's like, "You're Pascual Perez. You're supposed to be pitching tonight, right?" He goes, "Yeah." The guy's like, he's like, "I just don't know where I'm going." The guy pointed him in the direction of the stadium. Also gave him free gas because the idiot forgot his wallet, because of course. And he got to the stadium, but not in enough time to make his start. So the Braves threw 90-year-old Phil Niekro, who got a win. Perez pitched the next night, got a win, and that kind of turned things around. And Joe Torre, who was the Braves manager at the time, said that whole thing just kind of lightened the mood in the locker room for the Braves, and it turned their season around. They ended up making the playoffs and getting swept. Yes, Noops, I just noticed your face. Yes, Joe Torre managed the Atlanta Braves in the 1980s.
I learned something today.
Yeah,
I did too.
I'm a historian. I also have a couple of baseball bets. And this is, I have a couple of baseball bets, and I'll throw them up now. I'll start with the bottom one here. The Braves are playing the Royals in Kansas City tonight. Brady Singer versus Charlie Morton. The Braves offense is spectacular. Charlie Morton looks like he might be cooked, even though they signed him to an extension. Not terrible conditions in Kansas City. So this is at DraftKings. It's a first
one of these guys
innings over 2.5 at -125. I just think we're going to see some runs early in that game. And then, Matt, I don't think you watched the show because you're traveling on Tuesday, but FanDuel has a promotion called Dinger Tuesday. And basically, you make a $25 bet on anybody to hit a home run, and you'll get a $5 free bet for every home run hit in that game. So, for example, I have a Phillies prop tonight. And so if it were Dinger Tuesday, which it is not, I would play this prop for $25. And then for every home run hit in the Phillies Reds game tonight, I get a $5 free bet. I did not win I picked Ty France of the Mariners on Tuesday. He did not hit a home run, but there were 4 home runs hit in that game. So I did get $20 worth of free bets. I've tweaked the format. So I'm just playing one tonight as kind of an experiment to see if my idea is any better, but I'm going to go with Alex Bohm of the Phillies to hit a home run. Alex, sorry. Why did I put Alex? I'm an idiot. Alec
Think about me.
Bohm. Yeah, there you go. Noobs Philly. That's what it is. Excuse me. Alec Bohm to hit a home run at plus 700. Great American Ballpark is one of the most hitter-friendly parks. The conditions aren't terrible. Connor Overton pitching for the Reds. He's a 50-50 ground ball, fly ball guy. He actually has a fly ball percentage over 50% in his career and a hard hit rate of almost 40%. So he gives up hard hit balls and he gives up a lot of fly balls, which is something I've kind of added to this. Like picking ground ball pitchers to give up home runs is not a good idea. Bohm has a 551 slugging percentage so far this year, pretty good barrel rate, pretty good hard hit rate. So he's seeing the ball well, he's hitting the ball well, he's got 3 home runs, he's facing a pitcher who gives up fly balls in a park that gives up a lot of home runs. So at plus 700, we're taking a flyer, and if he hits it, I'm going to tout it like crazy, even though I misspelled his name because I'm a jackass. And we will now know going forward on Dinger Tuesdays that I kind of have found a formula that's a little bit better.
I just love the idea of Dinger Tuesdays.
It's a great name. Dinger Day.
Dinger Day all day, every day. How we doing the Billie Jean King Cup yesterday, Noobs?
Nice and smooth. A pretty easy win early this morning for Yulia Putintseva. Even got my over. So, tennis, although very sparse this week, pretty good so far. And I've got one more tonight. Even get to bet on a match between an American and an Austrian. Unfortunately, we do not have the American side. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Is this Canadian? Wait a minute.
Could be Canada.
I thought Rebecca Marino was Canadian. Maybe she's American now. Please hold. That's very strange. She's listed on the American team. Maybe she switched. Maybe she's now south of the border. Anyway, very confusing. But the Austrian team here, they're in Delray, Florida. Rebecca Marino, we're going to be going against her. I think we actually bet this same match about 3 months ago in a different tournament. But Yasleen Bonaventure having a really nice start to the season here. Really like the way she's playing tennis. She'll be on hard courts here, a little quicker hard court, which is generally better for Bonaventure's game. Again, Marino, a real solid player. If they're maybe on a slower surface, might like her here and maybe would understand her as the favorite. But I think much closer to a pick'em. Maybe Marino minus 110. So plus 140 on Bonaventure looks really nice. Look at the timing for that. That should be tonight around 8:15 or so. So you've got some time to put that in. And again, poke around. The Billie Jean King Cup should be listed in most places. I don't think anybody did this, but should be able to find 140.
Quick Googling says that any book who has her listed as an American just screwed up. She is very much Canadian. She is competing for the Canadian team at the Billie Jean King Cup, unless she defected overnight, which would be pretty rad. I don't know why you would defect, but hey, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at. Hey, pay no attention to me. I was obviously reading the wrong thing at some point, but yeah, like Bonaventure still should be a great match.
I love it. We have some hockey and Noops.
We definitely have a typo on this graphic, by the way, and that's on me. Hand up. I did it incorrectly. I put the odds incorrectly in the spreadsheet. But we'll get to
I see that now.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Everything's fine. I wish I got those.
Give me a second I can fix it pretty quick, I think. I don't know. We'll find out.
Do you have any thoughts on this Kevin Hilmer's question? Do we have a no-run first inning bet for the people?
Well,
I was looking through, just trying to find some pitching matchups that look decent. I would maybe look at Cubs Dodgers tonight. Justin Steele is throwing for the Cubs. He's been really good through 2 starts for them. Noah Syndergaard throwing for the Dodgers, not quite as much, but the Cubs offense is just okay this year. So that's probably one that I would take a flyer on. But if you look across baseball tonight, there's not a ton of great pitching matchups. So that's probably the one I lean to the most there. Dodgers Cubs.
According to Ballpark Pal, which is where I get my ballpark factors, Petco Park. So the Padres game, the A's game, the Cardinals game, and the Mariners game all have at least a negative 18 run percentage because of the weather and all of that park factor. So that's where I would start, is those 4 games, and then go from there and see what you have.
Have you guys been to a game in Oakland?
Oh no, I've heard it's awful. You went last year.
Yeah, I did. You don't need to unless you're really dead set on trying to cross off all the parks off your list. That is one that went to. Glad I did that, but I don't ever need to go back there. It's a little rough.
Memory serves, you were complaining a lot. Is it plus 338 or plus 380? The bet that I'm trying
plus
to
380.
Plus 380. Right.
Plus 380.
Well, set the stage for us. Set the stage for us, Matt, and then I will pop it up once I have it fixed.
All right. Well, I believe tonight is the last night of regular season hockey in the NHL. I know a lot of teams closed out their season last night. I think there's just 2 games. pulling up the exact number of games tonight. Yeah, just 2 games tonight. Colorado is playing Nashville. It's a relatively meaningless game there. I think you're still playing for some playoff positioning, but I don't want to touch that one. Another meaningless game, or at least on paper, it should be the Blue Jackets and the Sabres is where I'm going with my bet on the ice tonight. Columbus, as I talked about earlier, thanks to Kevin's question, is still in the battle for Connor Bedard. Buffalo is not. They just missed out on the playoffs the other day, but they did win last night. Talked about Buffalo quite a bit this year. They're a team that likes to score a ton of goals and likes to let in a lot of goals. So I am taking. I'll wait for Dan here. He's on. This is impressive, Dan. I'm very impressed at how quickly you got this up and done.
Oh, I did. Wow. Okay. Just keep talking. I'm almost there.
I'll wait for the graphic. It's okay. It's already there. Look at you. Come on now. Load up.
There we go.
There it is.
Bam.
Taking over 7.5 at plus 136 because we never see over 7.5s and that plus money. I think that's a lot of fun for the last hockey game of the year for both these two teams. Columbus is very capable of letting up a lot of goals. Buffalo scores and lets in a lot. Secretly, I'm kind of rooting for Columbus to win this game or go to overtime just to kind of cement the Hawks in that number 2 spot there in the lottery, but really dropping from 2 to 3 doesn't affect it all that much. So not that big of a deal, but that's my plus 380 to go to overtime bet. Also, if you look at those two teams combined, 4 of their last 5 have gone to overtime or a shootout. Only one of these teams combined last 5 games have ended in regulation. So we're going to bank on a whole lot of goals being scored because why the hell not? It's Friday night in the NHL. You got 2 bad non-playoff teams going at it. And then I don't know if you guys remember this, gave out this same exact bet last year in last year's playoffs, and it hit. I think it was around plus 500. Last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Toronto Maple Leafs lost first round 4-3 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. 2 years ago, first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, Toronto Maple Leafs lost 4-3 to the Montreal Canadiens in Game 7. 3 years ago, 2019-2020. Now, this is the COVID year where the first round was only 5-game series. So Toronto Maple Leafs lost qualifying round 3-2 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So went the distance and lost. That's 3 years in a row. 4 years ago, Toronto Maple Leafs lost first round 4-3 to the Boston Bruins in Game 7. 5 years ago,
seeing a pattern here.
Toronto Maple Leafs lost 4-3 to the Boston Bruins in Game 7. You have to go back 6 years when they lost 4-2 to the Washington Capitals to find a year that they did not lose in the final game of a playoff series in the first round. So what are we going to do, guys? We're going to bet at plus 570, the Lightning to do the same damn thing they did last year, go out, beat the Maple Leafs in Game 7 at plus 570, because that is what the Toronto Maple Leafs do. They go the distance. They usually hold a 3-2 series lead, and then they blow that series lead in the final 2 games. Give me the Lightning. I know they are a little bit of a different looking squad from last year, lost a few pieces from the team that's been to the Cup final the last 3 years. But they've been to the Cup final the last 3 years. They have the best goaltender in the world in the playoffs. At least he has been the last few years. Give me Tampa 4-3 exact series score over Toronto at plus 570. It's 5 years in a row, guys. It's pattern. It's trend. It's whatever you want it to be. Let's ride it. Let's keep riding at plus 570.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So
exactly.
Everyone knows trends aren't predictive, but that's just too good to not bet.
I mean, it's 5 years in a row, and it's fading the Maple Leafs. And quite honestly, I kind of keep hoping they keep losing in the first round because Austin Matthews is a free agent at the end of next year, and I want to see an Austin Matthews free agent sweepstakes. I'd like to see him. They keep losing the first round. He'll leave Toronto because he'll get run out of town by the fans and the media. And also, selfishly, the Blackhawks are going to have an insane amount of cap space at the end of this year and next year, and they wouldn't be outbid for Austin Matthews. And they should be a young, fun team at that point with some pieces that Austin Matthews might want to be a captain for. So that's kind of my hope.
Connor Bedard, Austin Matthews, first line.
You got those two as your top 2 centers. You kidding me? You kidding me?
And that'd be pretty nasty.
On the same power play? Come on now. You got Connor Bedard feeding Austin Matthews on the power play. Give the Blackhawks even 5 or 3 more.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Matt's got all tingly thinking about that.
I'm very certain that that's not going to happen. No. I'm going to have my heart broken, but it's okay. That's how it goes.
It's good to believe. It's good to have hope.
It is good to have hope. Hope is a good thing.
It's maybe the best of things. So I'm not betting any soccer because I've been colder than all holy hell when it comes to soccer. But I picked an NFL draft prop that I like, and this was basically just from the 5th year op. This is just a chance to promote the 5th year option, our NFL draft podcast.
Fun show.
Andy, Vegas Refund, or Luke, His name is Luke, but we call him Vegas Refund. They had Rob Statton on, who is Rob Statton is delightful because he's from Yorkshire and he's very English, but he's also a diehard Seahawks fan. He lived in Vancouver for a while, so he got really into the Seahawks in the aughts, and he's been writing a Seahawks draft blog for a while, but he does all NFL draft content, but mostly geared towards the Seahawks. This bet doesn't have anything to do with the Seahawks necessarily, although in his most recent mock, he did have them taking Anthony Richardson at 5th. Which is interesting. But one thing he said stood out to me, and I kind of like this angle, so I'm just like, I kind of like it, and the price is right. The bet is over 4.5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round plus 148 at FanDuel. We know 4 quarterbacks are definitely going in the first round. We know Bryce Young, we know CJ Stroud, we know Will Levis, we know Anthony Richardson. All 4 of those quarterbacks are going to go in the top 10. It is more like, or in the first round, it's more likely all of those guys go in the top 10 than one of them falls out. So the question is, who is the 5th? And Statton made a really interesting point that I'm going to roll with here. Hendon Hooker, he thinks, is going to sneak into the back end of the first round. Someone he thinks might trade up to get Hendon Hooker in the first round. And the reason someone's going to trade up to get Hendon Hooker is because
Who is Hendon Hooker?
Oh, I'm in the wrong.
Hendon Hooker was Tennessee's quarterback last year.
Hendon Hooker was
He
Tennessee's
had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
He is older.
Here's the thing. So Hendon Hooker tore his ACL last year. So he's not going to play in 2023, whatever year we're in now. And first round picks come with a 4-year contract, but a team option for a 5th year, which doesn't exist with other contracts for rookies. Yeah. So if you draft Hendon Hooker in the 2nd round, you only get him for 4 years, 3 of which he'll be able to play because he's coming back from a torn ACL. However, if you draft him in the first round, you get that team option for the 5th year. So you'll get him for 4 years eligible to play. So Rob Statton, this is not an original thought on my part. Rob Statton thinks that he will sneak into the back end of the first round so that a team does have the opportunity to get that 5th year of control on Hendon Hooker, who is ancient, who also plays in a very, very quarterback-friendly offense. But at least the logic of why you would draft him in the first round over another round makes sense. So why not? And it was like,
I love this.
Does Seattle have 2 first-round picks?
Seattle does. They do. They have the 5th pick and the 20th pick. He thinks they're going to trade the 20th pick, but and his logic for drafting Anthony Richardson is in line with one of my thoughts, which is I have this crazy thought that all but like 4 or 5 NFL teams should be drafting quarterbacks highly in the draft like every 3 years. Because like right now, how many NFL quarterbacks would you commit like a $300 million, like the Deshaun Watson contract to? How many quarterbacks do you think are deserving of that kind of money?
Not a whole lot.
Burrow, Allen, then maybe like Justin Fields. So,
definitely Herbert.
I'm almost there with Trevor Lawrence as well.
Maybe Hurts. Maybe I need to see it another year from Lawrence. But the idea is basically there's like 5 or 6 out of 32 that are worth paying a huge chunk of your salary cap to. So you might as well just keep playing the lottery over and over and over again and hope that you hit. And that was his justification for the Seahawks draft.
And Richard's a good draft and sit guy. So you got Geno basically. Yeah. You have Richardson come in and like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I just hope they draft Bijan. Bijan at number 5 would be amazing. The internet would explode.
Pete Carroll would be so happy.
No,
right?
We have to write.
So happy.
So a bunch of us got roped into writing 7-round mock drafts for individual NFL teams for Bleacher Nation for like an SEO project. So I got the Falcons. The Falcons are the only one I'm doing, and I've been like going through this for like a week, trying to like make up my mind on what I want to do with this. And I've come to the conclusion that the best decision for the Atlanta Falcons is to trade down and draft Bijan Robinson.
Oh, so now you're trade down and draft them because you were saying take him at 8 or at 8.
Well, I mean, if they take him at 8, they take him at 8. I don't hate it. And now I'm biased because he's like my second favorite Texas player of all time behind Vince Young. But like at this point, like I'm not going to waste everyone else's time with why they should do this because it's kind of a long rant. But basically, the idea is like if there's not an elite edge rusher there at 8, they don't have a huge glaring need. They've done a really good job of filling out the roster in free agency this year. So just go get the best player in the draft. Like at the end of the day, you're going to get the best player in the draft, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
you still know Desmond Ridder sucks if he sucks.
Right, exactly. Like they will have put enough weapons around him that if Desmond Ridder can't succeed with a decent offensive line, a great running game, like Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Mac Hollins, they're going to draft another receiver. Like if he can't succeed, you draft a quarterback.
Not the guy.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's it. And I think that's all we have for this week. Do you guys have anything else that you need to add betting wise?
I can't think of anything.
All right.
Go Kings. Let's go.
Go Kings.
30 points to Kings.
Bulls.
Let's go.
Taking the Bulls
Go
money line.
Kings, go Bulls, go Hawks, and go 76ers. We need a 76ers second round matchup so that Noops and the Sixers can get their revenge.
I like that hat even better now.
That's a great hat, man.
That's a fantastic hat.
And it's a snapback. Fitted hats are for morons.
I mean, I have a hard time finding hats that fit. So, you know.
I got my head's long. Exactly. You people in your normally shaped heads.
I'd turn my hat around, but it is adjustable. I just don't really feel like it because I have headphones on.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us, for Noops, for Matt, for Andy, wherever the hell he is this morning. We appreciate y'all checking us out. Hi, Andy. And we will be back on Monday.